Recording in progress. That must mean it's my time to start talking. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Designated Players Podcast. We are on episode 25? 25?
No.
24? Yeah, I think we're 20. I think we're 24.
24.
24. Which I think if I check correctly, 24. 1 week, 4 days. We're about to post for the third week in a row. We're
Impressive.
back, baby.
It's impressive stuff.
Considering the fact that none of us have any time to do anything, yeah, it really is. We're going to do today something that we've been talking about doing for probably 3 months now. It's got to be close to it, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to go ahead and rank, give a little tier list of MLS homegrown players, or rephrase, we're going to do a tier list of teams who, like, the best and worst homegrown systems, right? We talked a lot about Dallas, Red Bull, Philly being like the top of the top and who's at the bottom of the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and break it down. We want to actually dive pretty deep into this and see what we've got going. So we have gone and made a list of what we believe to be is every homegrown player ever. I might be wrong. There are some people here who I've never even heard of that I might be wrong about, and that's okay. That being said, it's going to be really interesting to see, because some teams have like 20 something, 30 something people, and then other teams have 2. Yeah. So what I'm proposing is we create a tier for anybody with 5 or less people that is just bottom, not necessarily worst of the worst, but they're too new, right? FCC, Inter Miami, Nashville doesn't have anybody yet. Teams like that haven't really had enough time to really create that system yet. I propose we put them in there, and that includes LAFC. What would you say to that?
No, I think we should count LAFC. I feel like it's been enough time for them. But I agree with the rest of them. I agree with the rest we can probably rule out.
What were they? They were 2018?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. What is it, 3 years?
3 years, yeah.
I think it's a little rough, but I mean, listen, we can do it. Like I said, because their team, they're going to have nobody like who has made significant impact. So they're going to be bottom of the bottom simply because of that. But again, yeah. I'm we can argue it if we'd like. What are the criteria we're going off of, Mr. Cohn?
I could tell you the criteria I went off of. I think you probably did something at least similar, maybe not exact. So I think that the big things are European interest. I did European interest, game time at like a top level, and then national team appearances.
I think I also added one in there. What was the one I added in there? Performance for the national team, right? Like, did we add national team? Sorry, do you say performance for the national team?
I just mentioned the national team. I don't know if I mentioned
in general. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. If they've made their national team, they've gotten called up. That's cool. I'm about it. Before we do any of that, scarf of the week. What are you rocking?
Well, I have made the decision that I am only going to rock one scarf until the playoffs are confirmed. So I will be sticking with Vancouver until they make the playoffs, which is inevitable.
And you need something to give you a boost, don't you?
It's gonna happen. They beat Minnesota.
Atlanta are gonna miss out, aren't they?
Atlanta? No.
Yeah, because they're gonna lose to us, and they're gonna lose to whoever they play next, and it's gonna be over.
FCC? Yeah, they're gonna lose to FCC.
I'm not going. I don't even go to that game. I almost got to that game, but our indoor season starts like this weekend. It's stupid, but I am rocking the good old Saxon Nation scarf for my boys on the Alfred University men's soccer team who are taking on their, what is this? This is now their 4th playoff appearance in a row. against our rival St. John Fisher College in the play-in game. It is currently side by side on my podcast screen with my game on the other side. So if you hear me yell, scream, and get excited, it's because I have that game on as well, because I'm a great multitasker. But yeah, up the Saxon boys. Give them another really good shot at moving forward here, because I think they match up with Fisher well. But that is not what the podcast is about today. Today, we are doing homegrown players. So you said you wanted to go ahead and start and count LAFC. So that means, do you have that tier list thing, that tier list creator?
I didn't even make mine into a tier list. I just listed them out like 1 through 20,
I think we
whatever.
should do tier list. Tier lists are fun.
We could still put it in a tier list. I mean, I have
Put it in a
all
tier
my
list.
stuff in
Pull it
order.
up. Pull it up. We'll take a quick break. Pull up the tier list.
It's gonna be a long break. It's not good because I gotta go find pictures of every team and put them in there.
Just take the team logos. You don't need pictures.
Yeah, but I gotta go find all the team pictures and then download them all.
Oh my god, you are so annoying.
Let me see
Can you
if they
just type in
maybe.
names? Can you just type in names?
No,
Does it
you have to
be
drag
pictures?
something in there.
Yeah,
Let me
you
see if
can't, like,
maybe
type in a
someone's made
name
it
and-
already.
All right, this is silly. So we're gonna have to do our own like off-screen tier list, and we're gonna have to make it that way.
Let me see if they have like a full list, or at least like a somewhat of a list that I can throw in there.
Okay.
Okay.
You do that. I gotta go put. I have frozen chicken on the stove right now that I have to put back in the freezer. Yeah, you're making me miss dinner for this bum. So quick pause. Connor will pull something up, and we'll get right back into it. All right, the recording is back. It took Connor about 15 minutes to try and find one. It took me about 4 seconds because I know how to use Google.
15
so
minutes.
that
You're
was
so dramatic.
That was cool. So as you can see now, we've got a tier list, and we're just gonna go ahead and drag. Did you rename them?
You know what? I'm just gonna add that last tier that we talked about for teams that are too new.
Okay.
I don't remember how to do this. Add a row below. I'll
As you
keep
guys
it
can
new.
tell, we are a professional podcast.
As professional as they come. All right, so we said if you want to throw LAFC in there, that's fine. You want to throw out?
I think LAFC deserves to be in there. So it's LAFC, FCC, Inter Miami, and Nashville. And Austin, I guess, too. I think Austin, I don't think I have. I think
That's
Austin's
fine.
there.
Austin's too new.
Yeah. I don't know if I put them. Yeah, I didn't even put Austin in there because they started this year. So those 5 will count as just too new. And then you've got A, B, C, D, and F because Connor's not clever enough to make good captions for them. We're just gonna
Listen, I'm trying to be efficient with the time here. I don't want to spend another 10 minutes trying to come up with names for captions.
Oh, stop it.
I'll work on it while you babble on.
So do you want to, what I can do is do a random list generator, list randomizer, random.org, put in all the teams. Apologies for the out of date logos for some of them. We didn't make this. We're just borrowing it.
What?
All right, I've got a random list. Are you ready to start?
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep working on the names while you go through.
Matt Miazga, stop it. Matt Miazga is like D.
He's not D.
What do you mean?
I'm not talking about his play in Europe, but he was a big prospect to come out of here.
Oh my god. And who is this Alfonso Davies guy? He's not even the best player to play in a Vancouver kit.
Got to make sure to include your favorite player.
I did forget he was a homegrown. I was about to say he isn't, but he is. Keeper. Good man. All right. So while you keep naming, the first team on our list, can you guess it? I'll go we'll go ahead and say Western Conference, and I'll do playoffs or non-playoffs for guesses, okay?
All right.
Western Conference, playoffs.
Portland.
Yeah. That was
Easy.
Get out of my screen.
Too easy.
Get out of my screen. Yes, Portland is the first one, and I will go first because you seem to be preoccupied thinking of clever things.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe they're the last team right about here. Yep. So Portland is a team that has been in existence since 2011, if I remember correctly, and has only produced 6 homegrown players, 3 of which are retired, 2 of which are still in MLS, and 1 of which is in the USL Championship. Brent Richards, the first homegrown signing in 2012, is currently playing with Orange County SC in the USL. Steven Evans, Brian Gallego, and Foster Langsdorff, all retired. Marco Farfan, still playing in LAFC, and Blake Badilli, who is currently on Portland's roster. I'll be honest with you, man. This is dang near about as bad as you can get in terms of the amount of time that you've had compared to the amount that you put out. And again, we might be, hands up, we might be wrong here. I did a lot of Google searching, but could not find a ton in terms of like just straight up list from like a fan source or anything. Mm-hmm. So we just used Wikipedia and hoped. So league
just as any good college student would.
Yes. League performance, interest abroad, and national team performance. So unless Marco Farfan has made any appearances in, he has made 1 appearance for the men's national team. He has been the best homegrown player they've produced without a question. He's played for Portland for 34 games and LAFC now for 28. USL 20 under 20. And if I look quickly at Marco Farfan transfer rumors,
I don't think there's really anything.
You don't see anything, right? Nothing jumps out at saying that this is like a guy who's really sought after, right? Because of Marco Farfan being in the national team picture somewhat, this is a D team for me, but it's going to be a low D. So the way we did this last time was like the from left to right in the tier list also was like high to low.
Like in order. Yeah.
Yes. So they are going to be like low D for me. Marco Farfan saves them. Blake Badilli also has been playing a little bit for the team, but nothing to the point where, he's been overly impressive. So I will give this one a D.
So I want to go a little bit more into like what I was looking for when I was looking at each team, just a little bit more specifics into like criteria wise. But
okay.
So I looked at like the 3 main things. I said Europe, I said game time, and then national team. So for Europe, I literally just Googled the person's name and then Europe or transfer rumors, just try to like see if anything popped up on the first page of like Google News. Okay. And if something did, then I included it as a Europe, or if the player obviously like moved on to Europe. There was a little bit of like just personal judgment. So like, for example, Bill Hamid went to Denmark where he played 1 game and then he came back. So I didn't count that.
Okay.
The case with looking up for transfer rumors to Europe, I counted that for players that are currently still in the league but haven't moved over yet. So someone like Cowell is obviously getting like, or Pepe, he's getting like a lot of European interest, but obviously hasn't moved yet.
That's weird.
Counted in the Europe group because he's inevitably going to move.
it's funny how you went directly to the best U22 player in the league and not to the number 2.
Well, because he's not a homegrown.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But I just wanted to point that out.
So going to the game time. So I was making like just essentially a tally just to see how many of the homegrowns checked off these certain boxes. So for game time, I wanted to look at like significant game time. So I looked to see if any of the homegrown players had played over 10,000 minutes at a top level. So if they played for USL, I didn't count the minutes. So it would only be like MLS or minutes at another like top level like league team. And then the last thing for national team, I counted it as a tally if they had played in at least like one meaningful national team game. So friendlies I didn't count. And
I would count friendlies considering that they do matter, right? Because that is you getting your look, right?
I mean, if you're gonna go off that, then like Paxton Pomykal would get the same tally as Tyler Adams, who's literally captaining the national team.
I think it's tough. I think it's tough to do this by just a single tally mark, right? It needs to go a little bit deeper, I think. But anyways,
well, that's why I'm setting like the criteria. That's why I wouldn't count like Paxton played 6 minutes in a friendly. And I don't think that should be weighted the same as Tyler Adams, who's playing almost every time for the US team and is like captaining.
Sure, I get it. I see where you're going with it.
Yeah. And I took a little judgment into that too, because I know like obviously some national teams are a lot easier to play in. So if that was the case, then I usually tried to like set some kind of like, oh, they had to have played this many meaningful games. And then I would count
like anybody can get in the Mexican national team, right?
Yeah, easily. Anybody.
Yeah.
That's why they all switch there, because it's so easy to get in.
It's easy to play. Yeah. No, I get it. I know where you're coming from.
So long-winded way, just wanted to get that out at the beginning. So for Portland, they checked off nothing. They checked off 0. None of the boxes were checked off for Portland. And the only note that I had for Portland was Marco Farfan. That is all.
Yes. And it is, right? For a team that has been this involved in the league for this long and hasn't really produced anybody out of their academy, that's not great. But yeah. I think Marco Farfan, like I said, I think 10,000 minutes is rough for upper flight. Like I consider Marco Farfan a good homegrown signing because of his impact for both. Like I said, he's played 50 something games already, not to mention all the time he spent in USL. So I think it's harsh, but I understand why you're doing it. So I am open to hearing your placement and conversing.
I think it's an F.
High F or like bottom of the bottom?
Definitely not the lowest team on the list, but I do think it's an F. In my list,
if you put them high F, like first F, I will give it to you.
All right, let's put that there for now, and then we could always
that's fine because we got to get our bell curve going. So
yeah, I also think with how long they've been in the league and they still haven't been able.
Sure,
and their list of homegrowns is really small too for being in the league for 9.
Yep,
10
absolutely,
years.
I agree with you there.
All right, so we'll revisit that one later.
Yes.
All right, who's next on the list?
Eastern Conference, not playoff.
Inter Miami.
Incorrect.
Wait, we're not counting them. I forgot.
Boo.
Eastern Conference, not playoff. Chicago.
Correct.
Let's go.
You're out of your mind. This is you going first.
Okay. So I kept that same criteria for Chicago. And they actually checked off 1 for the significant game time and 1 for the national team. So the one for the game, what?
That Jordy?
Jordy was the national team, and the significant game time was Harry Shipp.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a team that's got a lot of names on this list for homegrowns, It feels like they haven't exactly produced a ton. It's kind of interesting because I think as of this moment, Jordy is their best homegrown player that's come from that team, and he really has only blossomed big time when he was playing for someone else. Like this season with Montreal has really been his breakout year. I mean, he was definitely, garnering some recognition before when he was on Chicago, but certainly not to the level that he's doing this year with Montreal. So
Sure.
I feel like the academy has not been great. I think Slanina is going to probably top Jordy as their best player eventually, but it's been, I would say, definitely too early to say for sure. It's only been a few games this season. So I think overall, their homegrowns have been pretty disappointing. I'd probably say they're, let me double check my list, but I'm thinking it's somewhere in the D range.
So I would agree that you are disappointed if you look at the list just based off of what have they done up to today. However, if you cut it off at like 2019, I'll say 2019 is what I'll say. And you separate those two lists of where they were and where they're going to be, I think it's two completely different lists, right? So you're looking at Victor Pineda, Harry Shipp, and Jordy Mihailovic as being probably the best three. Grant Lillard also had some time as well, and I think he's getting time for Columbus right now in a rotational role. And those, like I said, they've got three guys retired, a bunch playing in USL, one guy playing in the independent league, and one still in MLS. Now you look at 2019 down. I've heard great things about Andre Reynolds. Obviously, Slanina is who he is. Mauricio Pineda has been talked of, one of the best players in the U23 pool in that defensive mid role, outside of Jackson Ewell, of course. Chris Brady has been putting on really good performances with our friends at Forward Madison in goal. I believe Alan Rodriguez has been playing well. I mean, they're all on loan right now, but I believe they've been playing well. I don't have those stats right now, but if you separate them from where they are to where they're going to be, I think it's if we do this 3 years from now, I think they massively jump. But I would agree with a D. I'd agree probably middle D, depending on who else we put there.
Yeah, I could definitely be on board with a high D for them. I completely agree with you. I think honestly, I forgot about Pineda being on this list too. I think the problem is that
he blends in because there's so many signed at one point, right?
Yeah. I think the problem right now with Chicago's homegrowns is that everything is so recent. It's hard to have any sort of sample size of what have they been able to accomplish so far, because it's just
correct.
too short.
They've signed 10 people in the last 2 years, 2 seasons, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
odds are at least half of them are probably not going to pan out. But if you can even strike gold on 2 or 3 of them, that's really great.
Yeah, like I said, my guess is you're selling, you're going to go ahead and sell Pineda for a decent sum. You're going to go ahead and sell Slanina when he goes and blows up. And again, if you hit gold on one more, right, Gutierrez, Rodriguez, Brady, any of those guys, it's been a successful campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. I would be open to maybe moving them into a low C too, but we can work on that later.
Let's see who we have, right?
Yeah.
Let's see who we have. We got to not spend this much time on teams.
Whatever.
We
like to talk. I don't know what to tell you.
We do. Maybe we split it in two. I don't know. Playoffs, Eastern Conference.
NYCFC.
Nope. My correct supporter shield pick, the New England Revolution. This is an interesting one, my friends. This is an interesting one. They have not been a successful reason. First of all, they don't have a ton of players, right? So it's important to keep in mind that I think the first signing was 2009, 2010 in terms of like homegrown players or like from the academy, right? So, you know, this is not as bad as Portland, right? But it is still kind of as bad as Portland. 7 players. I'm sorry, now I'm just starting to read things. 7 players signed since 2013. Diego Fagundes being the first one, and I'd say arguably the best one. You know, and still at 19 years old, you know, he's got tons of talent. You never know what he can turn into, but currently playing in Austin. Scott Caldwell, you know, the guy who's been there feels like forever, but he's holding the center mid down. Zachary Harivo, who was Birmingham Legion in USL, Nicholas Firmino at Union Omaha, Justin Renix and Damien Rivera are still on the team, and Isaac Anking is currently representing the Puerto Rican national team, but has no actual team. So you've got 2 players. We're going by your criteria, right? You've got 2 players who check the significant minutes.
Yep.
You've got 1 who checks the national team, I guess.
Yeah.
But you know, outside of that, Harival was a flop. Nicholas Firmino was a flop. Renix might turn into something. He's been getting game time, if I do remember correctly. And then you sign somebody in 2020 just to let him go in 2021. Yeah, he's played 7 games for New England since 2019, mainly New England too. But you know, he's part of the U.S. youth national system. And then Damien Rivera, you can't really judge yet. So really, you haven't utilized it too much. I'd say New England is also low, like low D, because of Fagundes and Caldwell hitting, and getting somebody for the Puerto Rican national team. So I'd say low D.
Yeah, I think I agree with a low D here. You kind of touched on what I was looking at before. Fagundes and Caldwell, neither of them are superstars or anything like that. Like obviously Fagundes had a lot of hype at one point, but both have definitely, made their mark on the league and gotten significant minutes throughout their career so far. So definitely hard to say that they've been like failures as homegrowns. I would definitely think if you can get a guy who can get you 10,000 minutes in their career, it's definitely worthwhile homegrown signing. But the rest of the list really isn't anything impressive. Not to mention that the list is super small for a team that's been around forever.
Right. And again, I don't hold the length of time that they've existed so much, unless it is that they were not, if they started in 2015, New York City, for example, I will hold them less strictly than I do Portland. But I also won't say like, oh, this team has been here since 1996, because homegrowns didn't start till 2010. So the only time
they still had 12 years then to rack up homegrowns, and they've had 7, I think.
No, for sure, right? But you also got to look at the owner, right? The owner doesn't give a damn at all, right?
Yeah,
but yeah,
I think a part of it is also that they get players in just different ways that end up being successful for them. Like obviously you look at the team now, you see Matt Turner, Buchanan, Brandon By, these guys come from other sources as opposed to homegrown, and they've worked out. So if that continues to work, then there's no reason to really care as much as how these homegrowns pan out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, it's the same reason why a lot of teams don't have a ton of players. I agree. Low D. Low D. Doesn't matter. They got a supporter shield. Most important. Western Conference playoffs.
SKC.
Nope. Seattle.
It's close.
Seattle's probably going to be our highest ranked so far.
Yeah, I think so too.
I would have to believe, but you go first, so go on.
Yeah, believe it or not, Seattle doing another thing good. I hate how much they do good things. They don't do anything bad. All right, so Seattle's got.
They really don't. Yeah, they don't miss.
No, they don't. Seattle's got a pretty big list of names here. I don't remember exactly when they came into the league. I know it was somewhat around the same time as Portland. I think maybe a little after, right? 20.
Seattle and Vancouver, I believe, started at the same time.
Okay. I want to say that's like 20, maybe 2012, 2013, something like that.
No,
Regardless, they've had some time to be able to grab a bunch of homegrown players, and they definitely have.
2009, my friend, 2009.
2009. Oh, damn.
Yeah.
All right. Regardless, they've built a pretty big list here of homegrown players. A couple of the notable ones: DeAndre Yedlin, Jordan Morris, Josh Atencio.
How dare you
What?
miss Adam's favorite player?
Adam's favorite player, Trey Muse.
Wallabwana?
No, that's
How
not his
dare
favorite
you?
player.
Adam would be disgusted.
Adam has like 8,000 favorite players. I can't keep track of them all. Anyway, going based off the criteria I mentioned before, Seattle ticked off a lot of boxes. So for Europe, believe it or not, they had 3. And this probably seems a little weird. Yedlin obviously being one. I want to think he was one of the first homegrowns that made that jump. So
he did, yeah, he was definitely one of the first. And then Henry Wingo, right?
I don't think I found anything for Wingo. Maybe.
Well, he's currently playing in Hungary. So
is he? All right, hold on. I'll double check him.
I know a few of their recent guys also have interest, right?
Yes, one of them, Baker Whitting.
Yeah,
that's looking like an FC Dallas type of thing going on there. I don't know if he's gonna really play much for the team, but I saw articles saying that he was getting interest from like Man City, Dortmund, all the big names. So got to imagine he is a big name, a big youth talent. And then the last one I put on the list was JMO. I know he went to Swansea, who at the time was in the championship, but I saw an article about when he was potentially making that move. There was interest from, I think, Bayer Leverkusen and Wolfsburg as well, both top tier German teams. So I included JMO in that list. I'm not sure. I see for Henry Wingo, he's got I think he's got 20 games right now in Hungary, and he had 23 in Norway. Yeah, so yeah, he could probably sneak into the Europe's tick mark there. So then there was 2 for the significant game time and 2 for the national team. They're both Yedlin and Morris. Obviously, those 2 have been their big homegrown talents that have come through. And I think that Seattle has definitely had a stronger homegrown bunch than I expected. At the same time, I don't think that they're necessarily at that top tier that the Phillies, Rebels, and Dallas is at. I would say Seattle probably fits into a high B for me.
That's right about where I was thinking about putting them. I think, again, yeah, surprising is a good way to put it, right? You knew about Yedlin, you knew about Morris. I mean, like I said, Henry Wingo is an interesting one, right? But Handwell Buana's played significant minutes across a couple teams in MLS. Trey Muse is high potential. Daniel Leva is filling in at teenage years. AOC, I've heard rumors about him. Atencio's been playing well, and you talk about Reed Baker Whitting. But yeah, same deal, right? Like you're looking at almost 2 separate cutoffs, right? You're looking at the Yedlin Morris era, and then you're looking at everybody in the last 2 years. That's going to be probably really good. So I would say high B because of you won't find a lot of teams that have put 2 players right in the thick of the men's national team, as well as a couple players who have made moves overseas and still have a good influx coming in. that they've got a really good combination there, but you're right. They're not quite at that level yet that some other teams are that we'll talk about.
Yep.
So I'm cool with it. Well done. Western Conference playoffs.
Is it the Loons?
It's not. Well, it's playoffs for now, but they won't make it by the end. It's Vancouver.
That's not true. Can't be Vancouver then. It's got to be a different team.
It's Vancouver without Brian White because he's not a homegrown player from there. This is me first, yeah?
Yep.
Oh, boy. I didn't realize they had so many homegrowns.
Yeah.
But again, another one that they all came from 2018 on. So the big one we all know about, Alfonso Davies, right? Obviously, Champions League winner, starting outside back for the best team in the world. Literally everybody else doesn't matter. Like, I hate to be that guy, but I'm that guy. Nobody else matters from this list. But then you've got players over the last 3 years now who have signed. David Norman spent time in Inter Miami. Baldissimo has played good minutes for Vancouver and has had a really good impact. Theo Bair played a lot last year, is now on loan to I believe a Japanese side. Where's he at right now? Oh, Norwegian side. I'm sorry. HamCam. But still, getting loaned to Europe. Thomas Hasal, we saw absolutely blow up last year and is absolutely out of his mind. They've sent a goalkeeper to Leicester. Anybody know that? No. And then you've got a whole bunch here that can still, turn into something, but I haven't heard much about them like the Seattle players have. But Alfonso Davies, obviously the big one. Hasal, Odunzi has made national team camps. And I know you don't want to talk about it because, he didn't play in the meaningful games. He's made national team camps. Hasal has played significant minutes for Canada. This is a mid-C for me, I think. Maybe I'll go high C. Because they have a lot of people who they have missed on, but a few people who can still turn into something. And obviously Alfonso Davies brings them up at least half a ranking. So I'll give him like a C+.
Yeah, I think the big thing is really to focus on Alfonso Davies here. I mean, he's unquestionably been the best player to come out of the league, period. But
Brian White begs to differ.
But he hasn't left the league.
Doesn't have to. He's still the best player in the league.
The fact that he's a homegrown player as well. I mean, he's created even more space between him and the next person. I think definitely.
If you said he was the best homegrown player to ever come out of here, then that's one thing.
I think the fact that they were able to hit so well on Davies alone definitely carries a lot of weight for them.
Right.
I also and like you said too, they have a few players that are starting to break through now and get game time, and I'm sure they will continue to get game time as certain guys get moved out, because you know how Vancouver works. They'll sell people in a heartbeat. So they'll rotate these guys in. They'll get more game time. I'm kind of surprised. I didn't expect Vancouver to have a good homegrown system going, but they've done pretty well for themselves so far. So I think I agree with a high C for them.
Yeah. Now again, if Schmeichel gets hurt and Odunzi comes in and just starts blowing up, they bump, right? Same thing with Hasal. If Hasal goes in and wins a starting job in Canada and starts blowing up, they move up, right? So this is another team that you talk to us in 3 years, they might be, high B, right?
Yeah, I think so. At least mid B. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Western Conference playoffs.
LA Galaxy.
Nope. Sporting Kansas City.
Sporting Kansas City.
What in Kansas City? You go first.
Yes. All right. So
This is a good
S-
one.
SKC, kind of similar to Seattle's got a pretty nice list of homegrown names on here. And I think, overall, as you look down the list that they have here, there's definitely a lot of good names on here. SKC's
Right?
SKC's definitely had a lot of
Yeah.
good homegrowns that have come through their system. I think similar to a lot of the other teams, it's been like a big push of homegrowns lately. Granted, they did have a bit more activity than other teams in like 2017, 2018, but there is still like a pretty long list of homegrowns that have come in since 2019. Those are definitely a bit tougher, I would say, to kind of get a read on how well they're going to pan out, how much interest that they're getting. So I focused more so on the guys that have kind of had some time to develop and get a little bit more reputation and a little bit more consistent game time. So first name that jumped off the list for me was Eric Palmer Brown back in
Yep.
2013. Currently on the books of Man City. Don't know if he's ever actually played any
He
game
hasn't.
time for them,
I think he
but
might have like a preseason game.
yeah, something like that. But typical loan system. He's getting sent out to different places in Europe.
Yeah,
I
he has no
believe
appearances.
he has what?
No appearances.
Yeah. So he's out on loan to different places in Europe. From what I remember, I thought I heard that he was doing pretty well. Obviously, getting a move to Man City is pretty impressive. Not completely impressive because Mckenzie somehow managed to do it, but still, definitely ticks off the box for Europe. Then I took a look. The next two on the list, Daniel Shallowey and Jean-Luc Cabusio.
Yeah, they
Obviously,
did all right.
What?
They did all right.
Well, I think Shallowey had a little bit of a slower start to his career. And then
Definitely.
obviously this season he's just blown up and he's literally in the MVP conversation out of nowhere. I believe, let me double check, but I believe he has the 10,000 minutes. So he's been consistently getting game time. Obviously now this season he's really like put in the results as well. And then obviously Jean-Luc Cabusio, who we all know about, just moving to Europe to play in Italy, and has definitely been much more in the national team picture as of late. And then there's a lot of other names on this list as well that I recognize and definitely feel like have the potential to also kind of follow these moves of Busio and Eric Palmer Brown, such as like Jalen Lindsay. I've heard Cameron Duke's name thrown around. So
Mhm.
I think SKC's had a very successful homegrown system that they've developed. I would say in terms of a tier ranking, I don't think they're necessarily as higher than Seattle, but I do think that they're a B.
I would agree. Side note, SKC might be the luckiest get in the world to get Shallowey on a homegrown contract because he moved to the States when he was like 18. He was born in Hungary. He could have picked anywhere in the world. They would have gotten him a homegrown. It would have been a completely different story.
Yeah.
But listen, right? So you've gone and you've taken like John Kempen played decent minute. He's a decent backup as a goalkeeper. Eric Palmer Brown obviously has not made appearance. He's made appearances in Europe, but again, one of the first big movers from the the pool of homegrowns, right? Shallowey has been absolutely blowing up for SKC this year, MVP candidate. Jean-Luc Cabusio obviously made his move this year and is a staple in the national team. Jalen Lindsay's had looks, as well as I wouldn't be shocked to see him in a January camp. And again, then you get three people who are, or you get 3 years worth of just quick signings, right? So Cameron Duke.
Your favorite John Polskamp?
John Polskamp didn't do terrible. Felipe Hernandez. Is Felipe Hernandez making appearances right now?
I don't know. You want to switch out John for the D tier then? If you don't.
No, he's D tier. Oh my God. He got suspended last month for betting on MLS matches.
Who did?
Felipe Hernandez.
So A tier for SKC.
Oh my God, he was concerned about his safety because of gambling debts. That's amazing. Oh yeah, he's played 24 times since 2019 for SKC. So he's made impact. So he's played. And then you got these 4 down here that were signed this year, right? So they if you're looking at hit to miss ratio, right? They haven't often, like Kevin Ellis played a ton of minutes for a bunch of MLS clubs too early on. So really they didn't miss until Matt Lewis. So they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight hits, 2 misses, 3 misses, and then a bunch of people who could turn into something great. So I'd say B. I think B is a good shout.
Next.
I'm looking at playoff for the East.
I'm going to say you're looking at Philadelphia.
No, I'm looking at Orlando. I think they're in the playoffs right now, right?
Yeah, they're in the playoffs.
Yeah, they might miss out.
I hope so.
Me too.
Actually,
Orlando is going to be an easy one because
I think Orlando already clinched the playoffs. Oh no, it depends on Montreal. Sorry.
Yeah. Wrong episode. Orlando, you go first. Sorry. Do I go first? You go first?
No, you go first.
I go first. This is an easy one. This is like F. F because so actually no, this is not F because they started in 2015. But they've got a guy who retired and is now playing video games for a living. They've got a 3rd string goalkeeper. They got Cam Limley, who's now playing for USL. Benji Michel's probably their biggest hit. Michael Halliday's played some minutes last year, was okay. And then a bunch of people who haven't turned in anything yet. Yeah, no, this is F. First 5 years, I'd go high F, low D simply because I haven't had all the time in the world. But I'm open to dropping them lower.
Yeah, I think I would definitely agree with high F, low D. I think we'd probably stick them in high F, probably just ahead of Portland right now.
Yeah, that's probably where I put it.
But yeah, I wholly agree. They have not struck at all with any of their homegrowns. A couple of guys have some minutes, like Tommy Redding and Benji Michel, but otherwise it's been disappointing.
Yeah, and again, I don't hold it against them in terms of like short list because they haven't been here for a while. That being said, still like they haven't. This is very indicative of the way that Orlando was for the first however many years, right? Just
Yeah.
Okay. Playoffs, Eastern Conference.
NYCFC.
No, the team that's losing on Wednesday. Atlanta
Red Bull?
United. Oh, and it's your team first, right?
Go right nice. Let's go.
All right. Who's got 30 minutes to block out?
No, I won't take 30 minutes.
It shouldn't. You guys have been okay.
Atlanta, obviously being one of, if not, I think the newest team that we're ranking on here. Obviously joint with Minnesota, has a pretty decent sized list of homegrown players for the short time that they've been in the league. I would say for the most part, they've not hit on, I would say 99% of their homegrowns. Obviously, like Chris Goslin, Andrew Carlton jumps out. Carlton obviously being like the big one because he
Carlton
had
being F tier.
a ton of problems. Yeah, and then like Lagos Kunga, and then there's some more newer names now that are kind of getting in the mix a bit. Of course, I'm gonna mention Machapchol because I missed Adam's last one, so I'll get it this time. George Campbell's getting in the mix. I've seen Tyler Wolf get some minutes, so
yeah,
some of their homegrown players some sparse minutes. I
Jackson
know.
Conway too, right?
Yes, Jackson Conway as well. Yeah.
Scored in the
So
championship. Yeah.
I would say this homegrown players are not going to probably get a ton of time with a team like Atlanta, who typically will buy the players that they need. They don't typically go through building up young players and not necessarily through the homegrown system. Obviously, we've seen like a couple of young players develop through the team, like Miles Robinson and then George Bello as well. But Robinson was obviously a draft pick. And then Bello is obviously the one exception that I feel like for this team so far. Obviously, Bello is definitely a big talent in the league, one of the left backs for the U.S. national team and in MLS that has a lot of potential. I feel could follow a route very similar to what Sam Vines did, which makes sense. I feel like
Definitely.
they're in the national team camps a lot together. So really Bello's the only one that they've had any success with in terms of homegrown. Obviously, a lot of them still yet to really find out. We'll have to wait and see. But I think Bello is definitely like a good talent in the short period that they've had, and they've definitely like made their attempts, which I can definitely appreciate. So I feel like they are a C tier, but I would say definitely behind Vancouver.
This one, I was gonna go high D or low C. Um, I was feeling more low C because of how new they are. But again, they have more misses than hits. Right. So the way I look at misses versus hits are basically where do we stop with people who have like left the club already and who are like the new signings. So you look between Goslin, Carlton, Bello, Kunga, and Quanquo. You're looking at one person that you hit on 5. It's okay. Now, if you look at the rest of the group, Campbell, Wolf, Washington, Chol, Conway, Morales, right? That is an exciting group. So what I would say is probably low C for potential, high D for hit rate right now. So I am, as long as we keep Atlanta low, I'm okay with it in C.
Yeah, we'll go through the rest of the teams and then we'll see where they end up. I feel like they're more mid C, just because they are newer. They've had a shorter period of time.
Depending on the teams that we put in front of them, you can make your argument.
All right,
I just don't.
We'll go through and we'll see.
Yeah,
but I feel like in between Vancouver and Chicago right now is probably a fair spot for them.
Okay. Not playoffs East.
Columbus.
Correct.
You're up.
I am up. This one's also pretty low for me. Matt Lampson is probably the first one they hit on that was good. Well Trapp came through and was unfortunately in the MLS or in the U.S. men's national team picture for a little bit. Miss. Out Crognali is probably the next one. And then you got a bunch that have been good, you know, Abubakar Keita, Aiden Morris, Seb Berhalter. All of those guys have been more promising than the guys that they had. Considering their success, right? They've been kind of up and down. They haven't been good forever. And they haven't utilized their homegrowns to be good or bad. So this is high D for me. 2 hits and only one really anything worth writing home about. I'd go low C, right about Atlanta, actually, now that I look at it again with Crognali, who made some good appearances, as well as Abubakar Keita, who's been okay as well. I'd go high D, low C again, and I'd be open to hearing where you'd put them.
Yeah, I definitely agree on the range. I think nobody's really been like a shining star that's come out of their homegrowns. I think Will Trapp has been the most successful.
We all
Obviously,
know how we feel about Will Trapp on this podcast.
there's a bunch more in the system right now that are starting to get their game time, like Keita, but it's too early to say on those guys. And with the rest of the homegrown players being represented by Will Trapp,
I'd put
think
them
I think we go low C just for the
for the curve. That's
distribution.
exactly what I was thinking. I say I go below Atlanta. I'd go below Atlanta.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
We're such nerds, man. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I actually have to look this one up. I'm not quite sure. Playoffs West, and that kind of gives it away, considering what we just talked about.
Galaxy.
Yeah, the Galaxy. Is that you? You go first?
Yes.
No, I go first. No, you go first.
I go first.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if you're going to disagree or not, but I
probably will.
feel
If I know you, I probably will.
I feel like the Galaxy's homegrowns, at least for how well known the Galaxy name is, has been disappointing. So
I'm gonna refrain any comment until I go because I've got thoughts.
okay. So they've had a pretty long list of names as well. I think they've definitely taken their chances on a lot of players, homegrown players. The first name for me that jumps out is obviously everybody's favorite striker, Giassi's artist.
Wrong. Sorry, go ahead.
Listen, it's hard to miss him with the gold stripe. It's almost impossible.
I will. I'm taking notes, and I will tell you what I think about your comments.
Okay. So based on that criteria that I was going off of, Zardes was the first one to jump out. He's got the significant game time and he's got the national team appearances, whether you like it or not. So,
and we know how most people feel.
Yes, we do. The next name that jumped out to me was Bradford Jameson IV. I definitely remember the name a lot. I believe when I was looking him up though, his CV was pretty disappointing. I think the hype was definitely better than his performances. And currently he's playing for Hartford. I think he had a small move to Denmark team where he only played 12 games.
You mean a Danish team?
Whatever.
Wah.
Looking at this list that we set up here, it's a lot of names from 2009 to 2017. I see a lot of guys that look like they're playing on USL or NASL teams, just lower tier US teams. Someone's in the Philippines, couple of guys not on a team at all. So I feel like from 2009 to 2017 has definitely been a lot of misses, with Giassi really being the only hit. And then there's a couple guys in 2017 kind of fall into the same range, not really adding much value. And then they signed a bunch from 2019 to 2021. These are definitely more names that I think people nowadays would recognize because I think they do get into the lineups a bit more than some of the other homegrown players we've looked at on other teams. Obviously, the big one, Efren Alvarez, definitely a lot of hype, makes the MLS 2222 list. I believe has actually gotten a meaningful game for Mexico. And not that that's saying much. One name I was surprised to not see on here. Sorry, what'd you say?
I said I could walk in and get a game for the national team in Mexico.
One name I was surprised to not see on here was Julian Araujo. I thought he was a homegrown or something similar to that, but
I thought he was too.
Yeah, but I double checked it too. I think when I saw it, and I believe he's not a homegrown. But other names on here: Ethan Zubak, Cameron Dunbar, Adam Saldana. So I definitely think there's potential in the new crop that they've brought in. I think it's starting to pan out a lot better than they did previously. But I think that they struck out. And I'll say this: when I was looking up a lot of these names, I think criteria wise, we might differ because I think a lot of these guys did get maybe 30 or 40 games over their career. Like, I just don't think that over a course of a career to play like 30 or 40 games at the top level, I would justify that as saying like, oh, they hit on that homegrown player. Like I think Giassi is more so someone that they would like hit on, or Efren Alvarez is someone that I would say they've hit on. So I would say overall, it's been for the LA Galaxy brand, it's been disappointing compared to the other teams. I feel like they're still better than a lot of the other ones. I'm feeling around the C range somewhere, but yeah, I'm definitely open to moving them somewhere else. I don't know. I'll hear what you have to say on it.
FC Dallas and New York Red Bull are the champions of the Play Your Kid movement. LA Galaxy are like the evil stepdad who beats that back into a corner. LA Galaxy have taken, first of all, when you say the most notable name is Jack McBean, damn it. Jack McBean was my boy. I loved watching Jack McBean play, man. I would always be like looking for him every time I watch a Galaxy play. I was like, where is he? Where is he? That was, little
Number one Jack McBean fan.
Little 13-year-old me. Jose Villarreal was another one who was supposed to be next superstar. Zardes, obviously. Bradford Jameson IV. Why is Raul Mendiola on here twice? What did you do?
That's how good he was.
That's how good he was. Sorry, that's bothering me. I need to get rid of that. So those four right there, they should have all hit. But Bruce Arena was like, I've got 4 superstars and a bunch of like.
Let me start Jack McBean over David Beckham.
Well, that's what I mean, right? Like, I get that they weren't part of the Player Kids movement, but they're the way that I'm looking at this is what they should have been based on all reports. David Beckham. So Bruce Arena was like, man, I've got all these superstars in Juninho. I don't need to play any of these guys. So they sat down and they were like, all right, Jose, Jack, Bradford Jameson, go play for LA Galaxy 2. Giassi's artist, go play outside back, and we'll deal with you when we deal with you. And everybody else moved on. They were like, screw it, we're not gonna deal with this. And Giassi was the one who stood through it and made a name for himself. But this is like this, and then again, you look at Alvarez, you look at Ethan Zubak, who's got good time. Cameron Dunbar's been playing some minutes. Jonathan Perez has been playing some minutes. Saldana's been playing some minutes. Neal's been playing some minutes. So they're in the fray. They're back into the Player Kids movement, right? The LA Galaxy homegrown system is the one that I'm not going to put in comparison to the criteria. Their homegrown system is like middle C, better than Atlanta. That being said, their coach, quiet, I am speaking. Their coaches and their decision-making to go against the Player Kid movement hurt them. Their academy is good. Their coaching decisions were poor. Middle C, better than Atlanta. I'd put them under Vancouver because they produced Giassi's artists, not
Alfonso Davies.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Any disagreements?
Nope, totally agree.
Good. And it frustrates me because they should be. Playoffs East.
New York Red Bulls.
We love you. We love you. We love you. And when you play, we follow. We follow. We follow.
This feels rigged.
We're going
you
to
start
the
with Red Bulls.
the playoffs, and Atlanta is not. Sorry.
Listen, if anybody's got a more certain path to the playoffs, it's us. We need 1 point.
Yeah, and you got to get it on the last day though, man. Choking trap game, Cincinnati.
No, stop.
Oh, hook that right to my veins. I would die. So we're just gonna go ahead and put them in A, right? Because they are the top of the top. players like Juan Agudelo, Connor Lade, Brandon Allen, and of course the GOAT, Alex Mawil, all feature in this great. No, obviously. You've got Juan Agudelo, who's still playing minutes from Minnesota. Don't know how, but he is. Matt Miazga is obviously the big one, put into Chelsea. Sean Davis captaining Red Bull. Tyler Adams captaining the men's national team, playing for Leipzig. Derek Etienne Jr. putting meaningful minutes in for Columbus Crew and winning an MLS Cup. Alex Mawil, the greatest player to ever walk the face of the earth. They have missed on a bunch of them after Alex Mawil, though. Scott Thompson, Chris Thorsian, Aaron Basulovic, Evan Loro, who actually has been very good for Tampa Bay this year. Ben Mines playing for FC Cincinnati. He's still young. Kevin Politz was a miss. Omer Fernandez then gets us back on track. Him and John Tolkien are both fantastic this year. Tolkien you will see in Europe in the next 3 years. And that is not a guess. That is 100% fact. But again, the phrase Red Bull makes the world takes is a joke, but it also isn't. You can look at anybody and see that they came from a Red Bull system. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Red Bull to the moon.
I don't have a lot to add. I think it's pretty obvious that Red Bull is an A-tier homegrown team. I mean, that's what they're known for, developing, selling for a hard discount within the Red Bull family.
Hey, man, we get 33% sell-on clause. Come on.
You get 50% of the profits when they inevitably go from Salzburg to Leipzig.
Bro, Adam would be losing his mind here, man. I wish he was here. But
it's all within the system.
It's all within the system. But yeah, like I said, they have missed on a bunch. I won't say that they didn't, but yeah, the players that they have put out, like I said, Juan Agudelo was the biggest 17-year-old on the planet at one point. Just Red Bull makes the world takes. Playoffs West.
Colorado.
Correct. I'm reading. Sorry. New York Mets part way with Zach Scott. This is your daily New York Met minute here. Zach Scott's officially gone.
Was he the GM? I don't know what he was.
GM, yeah, he was a GM. So, cleaning house after Uncle Stevie comes in. We love it. Yes, Colorado. Please go and speak to Colorado, which also, after we finish Colorado, actually, we are halfway through already. So, yeah, we're on pace for about an hour, 2 hours.
Yeah, we'll be good. We'll be good.
Yeah, we'll be right.
Colorado reminds me a bit of Atlanta with a few more hits. Obviously, the big guy to come from the homegrown system is the young left back, Sam Vines, similar to Bella with Atlanta.
This is the perfect one to plug that you had a Colorado player follow you on Instagram for about 4 minutes.
Yeah, Courtney Ford. Hey, follow me back.
Courtney, we know you're listening. Follow the guy back.
You're going in the F tier until you follow me back. Yeah.
Savage.
So definitely a few notable names on here. Shane O'Neill, Courtney Ford, Sam Vines, a bunch of similar thing with a lot of other teams, a bunch of guys that have come in from 2019 to 2021. Probably a bit early to say how they'll pan out. I think Sam Vines getting the move to Europe and being an integral part in the men's national team picture is definitely very strong for Colorado's homegrown system. Shane O'Neill getting plenty of game time throughout his career so far. I think their homegrown system overall has been okay. I think it's about average when compared to the other teams. So I'd probably stick them in the C. I would say probably ahead of Atlanta, behind Galaxy is what I'm thinking.
That is exactly where I was going to put them. Davey Armstrong, obviously making. Is Davey Armstrong the guy who played like 1 million minutes for No, definitely not. Who am I thinking of? Oh, I'm thinking of Davey Armstrong. No, my fault.
Yeah,
For Montreal, yeah. Shane, you're right. Shane O'Neill, Dylan Sterner was the biggest player in MLS in 2013, and then never existed after that. Man, I remember hearing everything about Dylan Sterner, and then he just disappeared. Sam Vines, obviously the big one in Antwerp. But then you got guys like Sebastian Anderson, who's been playing. He played a lot for their second team, but has made a lot of really good improvements. I've heard a lot of really good things about him, as well as Darren Yappy. I heard Darren Yappy is supposed to be the next like Josie Altidore type build striker. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, right. Like, you're looking at Davey Armstrong, who didn't really hit. Ricardo Perez, Sam Robin, Matt Hunley is kind of in the mix. And then you have a bunch of people who still have time to get in there. So I'd say that's a perfect spot for him. Well done.
Nice.
Your Alfred roundup, start of the second half, still 0-0.
Sounds good.
Playoffs West.
Minnesota.
Correct. This be you, my friend.
No, it's you. It should take like 5 seconds.
We should have put Minnesota back in the new column.
We included Atlanta. They went in at the same time.
Okay. Stop crying. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Do you need a hug?
I don't need a hug. You want me to? I could take this one. It'll take me 2 seconds.
It's very easy. It's gonna go F.
Yeah.
They've got 2 signings and none of them have made any impact. Bottom F, bottom of the bottom.
Yeah. Not a single. Neither of those players, I believe, have played once for Minnesota. So
correct. Okay.
Bottom of the bottom.
You got your tears out. You got your blankie. Took a sip of your milk. Everything gonna be okay?
Any chance to throw some shade at Minnesota after they came at us?
Eastern Conference, no playoffs.
Montreal.
Nope. DC United went to Rome to see the Pope. I can't finish that song. It's not a good song. It's Meade. But this is you, my friend.
Okay.
And
I'm
there's
just
only
gonna
one
say
answer.
DC has I know the answer you want, and I'm not going to give
What's
you
the answer I want? What's the answer I want?
You want me to put them as low as I possibly can because you don't like DC United.
Wrong. I want you to put them as low as you possibly can because I don't like Bill Hamid. There's a difference. I don't like DC United, but I really don't like Bill Hamid.
I know. You got beef with Bill. Anyway,
well, he makes my team play poorly or look bad.
Yeah, it's Bill's fault. It's Bill's fault.
It's Bill. He's got to stop making these saves.
Bill knows how to beat the system.
Bill. Go.
All right. DC United's homegrown system is very good. And
that is a really bold statement.
You think that's a bold statement?
I'd take the really out of it, but go ahead.
Okay, fine. That's fair. I'll take the really out of it. I'll say it's a good system. I think it's borderline really good. They got a pretty long list of names here. A good mix of guys that they grabbed early on in the homegrown program, and then the typical movement of within the last 3 or 4 years signing a bunch of people as well. First couple names that jump out to me, Andy Nahar and Bill Hamid. Obviously, we know how you feel about Bill Hamid, but the dude plays consistently every season. He plays
inconsistently every season. That's the whole point.
Doesn't matter. He gets game time, and he's in the national team picture.
You mean consistently is on the field?
Yeah, like playing.
When you say plays consistently, I think plays without mistake.
Okay, gets minutes consistently. I'll say it that way.
Better phrase. Good.
Same thing with Andy Nahar, also getting consistent game time. I would say both of which have definitely carved out successful careers for themselves. Both have been in their respective national team pictures. So I would say they definitely have hit on both of those two players. Andy Nahar also went and played in Europe for a decent amount of time. Like I said before, I didn't count Bill's time in Denmark because he played one game and then came back. So I'm not counting that one. Then the next, and I might skip over some. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember what came up when I was searching like Ethan White and Connor Shinosky. But the next two names that jumped out to me were Chris Durkin and Ian Harks. So Durkin is obviously a name that rings a bell to me. I remember him being one of the first young players that was getting hype when I started to follow the league. I would say so far he probably hasn't exactly lived up to the level of hype that I remember him getting, but he also hasn't been he hasn't been like totally bad. I think he has been playing in, I want to say that's a Belgian team, and he's got a pretty decent number of games for that team. Obviously, it's not a bigger Belgian team.
Are we talking
like,
Durkin?
Yeah, Durkin.
I believe that is Belgium. Yes.
Okay. Obviously not one of the bigger Belgian teams that like Horvath was playing for or that Mark Mckenzie plays for, but still playing in top tier Belgium, getting pretty good game time. So definitely checks off the Europe box. I'm pretty sure. Let me check. I don't know if he has the minutes that I was looking at. He doesn't. But I'm sure he'll get to the minutes at some point in his career. Ian Harks as well, playing in Europe, playing in Scotland. Kind of the same thing, not necessarily playing for a top Scottish team, but still playing in the top tier of Scotland and getting consistent game time. He's got over 75 games in the top tier of Scotland. And then you look at their new crop that's come in since like 2018, and there's a lot of names there that will definitely get people excited. Donovan Pines has definitely been starting to develop. He was just getting a little bit into the U.S. men's national team picture, definitely getting good game time for DC. And then I see three names in a row right there that I definitely consider to be very young, talented players that are developing at DC and definitely have very bright futures in Griffin Yao, Kevin Paredes, and Moses and Yemen. I think all three of them have the potential to definitely get moves to Europe and definitely be hits for DC United's homegrown system. Obviously, Paredes and Yemen were both on the U22 player list with, I think, the oldest out of the two being like 18. So definitely really impressive. Both of them getting game time with the DC team that's challenging for the playoffs right now. So I think DC's homegrown system has done, I would say, a very good job with the players that they have. I think obviously it's still a tad bit early to say for some of the newer guys like the last three that I was just talking about, but I think they've shown enough that they can justify some hype surrounding them. So I feel like we will probably have to debate on where exactly to put them, but I definitely think they are in the B tier. I feel like they're definitely ahead of Sporting, but I'll kind of defer to you if you want to put them ahead or behind Seattle.
That's exactly where I was going to put them, right in between Seattle and SKC, right? Andy Nahar is my favorite homegrown player ever. Like outside of Red Bull.
It evens out for Bill Meade.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, right? I loved when Andy Nahar was playing. He was my favorite. There was a lot of hype around him, but I liked the way he played. He was just enjoyable. And okay, good, it's done. Bill Hamid is an absolute bum, and I don't like him, but he's kind of good. We forgot to mention that Michael Seaton is playing in the German fourth tier, so European interest. Obviously, Chris Durkin and Ian Harks. It is absolutely criminal they let Ian Harks walk for nothing. Very Orlando City of them. Durkin is, I'm surprised Durkin hasn't had I would be shocked if Durkin doesn't show up in January in the camp. I would be honest with you. I think he's probably been to that point now. He's made 41 appearances since 2020, scored a goal. I wouldn't be shocked to see him come in. And I'd say Donovan Pines is a little overhyped, especially after watching what he did in the Nations League.
Gold Cup.
Yeah, same difference. He was terrible anyway. Doesn't matter. But yes, you've got Griffin Yao, who I think is also a little bit overhyped just because he hasn't put in overhyped by us, not by the media. I think, we're excited about him, but we don't know much about him. But Paredes and Nyman are both very, very good. So I would put them in between Seattle and SKC.
Side note, is it Nyman or is it Yemen?
I have heard it said both ways.
Okay. It was whatever we want, I guess.
It's the mule wheel debate, right?
Would you, let me ask you this, would you make the argument that they would go above Seattle? Or would you say Seattle's top, like they're what's the right word? Like they're the best. Like Yedlin and Morris have been like the talent that they've exhibited has been better than like the probably a bit more consistency that DC's had.
That's a really good question. I would hear either argument. I think DC United have created more middle tier players, while Seattle have created just two absolute powerhouses. You could tell me you'd put DC above them, and I would agree with you.
I would say I would put them behind Seattle for now, but I think with like the new crop that DC's got coming in, I could definitely see DC jumping Seattle.
Well, if we talk about it, right, you've got Andy Nahar and Bill Hamid, who are both national team pictures and consistent starters. Chris Durkin and Ian Harks are about to be there. And then you got four players here who might. You could put them either place, and I would agree with you. So I will let you pick.
It's tough. Like, I know Seattle really has those two that got into the national team picture, but they've been like really consistently in the national team picture, whereas like Hamid has only gotten very sparse game time. I think has only played in one meaningful game, I think in the Gold Cup once.
Hamid, yeah, but that's because he's inconsistent as hell and not good. So
I'm gonna make the argument that DC just goes ahead of Seattle.
I'd agree with you. I'm cool with it. Next up, Western Conference, no playoffs.
Is it the last time?
It's not the last time. It is RSL time. Where is the loss? It's RSL time. So
Take it away.
It is me. Yeah. A really long list. I have to be really not biased here. Donny Toy is my least favorite player of all time. I have no reason for it. I just don't like him.
More than Bill Hamid.
Like it's damn near close, man.
What about Rafa Marquez?
All right. Like currently in the league. Don't be silly now.
Okay. Least favorite player outside of a Red Bull player.
Like, and there's no reason for it. I just don't like the guy. Like, I bet he's a really good dude.
Donnie, come on the podcast and defend yourself.
Man, come on, man, do it. I don't know why, but I remember when I was growing up watching this guy play and being like, why is he in the game? Like, he's not good. Justin Glad, really good. Danilo Acosta, really good. Not good. Not really. Not Justin Glad good. And Justin Glad's like 22, so he's got tons of time to get good. And him and Fagundes are
22 years old. He's been a homegrown since 2014.
So there's this other guy, Lalo Fernandez, who is currently like the second string goalkeeper for Tigres in Mexico.
I
Never
saw
heard of it.
that. It made no sense at all.
No sense whatsoever, but I love it. I'm absolutely here for it. Bofo Salcedo playing for UNAM. Aaron Herrera currently still playing at RSL. Corey Baird over in Houston, but was good for RSL and got good minutes at LAFC as well. Somebody forgot to change this. Snake Ochoa, obviously getting big minutes for U23 clubs, and he's about to walk into the Mexican national team because he needs an easy way out. And then a few guys here who I've heard of and haven't really made teams yet. Justin Glad has wasted his career with this absolutely abysmal club from 2014 to like 2017. Criminal. Donnie Toy is a bum. Danilo Acosta is really good. They got two guys playing for like the top 3 clubs in Mexico. One of them was Bofo Salcedo, who's fantastic. Aaron Herrera was in the national team picture for a little bit. Corey Baird also in the national team picture? Question mark? Maybe?
I don't think so, but
I feel like we've talked about wanting him in for a January camp. I think that's what we're talking about.
yeah.
And then I believe that's really, and then, yeah, you got your snake, right?
Corey Baird's got 4 appearances for the national team.
See, I thought he was in there. I thought he made that team. I put them underneath Sporting Kansas City, above Vancouver. I think that they've produced a lot. Sporting KC have produced a lot. Not as many, but better. Like I said, John Kempen and Kevin Ellis from SKC, both really solid MLS players. Then you got 4 players who are going to be, who like are European or top level here. And then you got a few people who might be good later. Whereas RSL have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 good MLS players and 2 good Mexican league players. Yeah, I'd put him right around that spot.
Good Mexican. Lalo Fernandez, who hasn't played a game in 4 years in Mexico.
Quiet. He's playing for Tigres. Remember, that's the best that Mexico can get.
He's riding the bench for Tigres.
Do you remember when people were staying up like super late to see some dude get minutes for like the 3rd division in Germany? That's where Mexico is right now. All right, so we got to give him something.
This was a weird team for me because the criteria that I set up, RSL really didn't tick off a lot of the tick marks, is I think, which is weird because I feel like a lot of their guys feel established and are solid. The only things they ticked off are 2 guys for getting 10,000 minutes, which was Donnie Toya and Justin Glad. But I mean, I even wrote in my notes, like there's like a list of players that have come out of their system and I would definitely say are hits. Like have been getting good game time in the league and have been successful. So it was definitely one where, even though it didn't tick off a lot of boxes for me, I definitely rated them higher than some of the other teams who maybe ticked off a few more boxes. So I would say, I feel like I'm in the ballpark that you're in. I'm just debating as to whether or not I would put them behind Vancouver. So Vancouver's got a couple that I feel like are starting to come through and get game time. And then obviously they had Alfonso Davies, who like
You'd
far
put them
and away has
behind
been.
Vancouver?
I don't think I would, but would you put RSL in B or C?
I'd put them in B.
You'd put them B.
I'd put them right below SKC.
All right, maybe we'll move them at the end for the.
Yeah,
the
that might be a
curve.
team we move. Absolutely agree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams left. Western Conference, no playoffs.
FC the loss.
No, it's Houston. That's what I said. They're going to finish 4th. Brutal.
Can't win them all.
It's you first, yeah.
All right, Houston. Where's Houston's list?
Right here.
Where's Houston's list? Houston's got not the biggest list. Surprisingly, have not made a bunch of homegrown signings in the last few years, like a lot of the other teams have. Looks like it's about 4 over the last 2 years. And just looking down the list of players that they have. So outside of guys that they've signed in 2021, there is currently one that is playing for a top tier team, and that's Memo Rodriguez, who I think is definitely what
for Houston.
For Houston, I definitely think Memo Rodriguez is a good player. He's definitely, I would say, one that Houston's got a hit for. Even if he doesn't end up like going to Europe or necessarily getting in the national team picture, he's definitely like putting up results for Houston. I think that he's a little hard done in the fact that Houston just have a bad team around him for a lot of the time that he's been there. But the rest of this list I look at, I think they've missed. I want to say, I don't remember what I found on the first couple of guys like Tyler Derich and Francisco Navas, but nobody checked off any boxes from my list. But I obviously recognized Memo. I think that they hit with him. I think I don't know too much about the newer guys that they brought in. I would say overall, definitely hasn't been good for Houston. Where would I put them? I'd probably put them low D.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree with that. The Tyler Derich was good. You gotta be kidding. Oh my God. Alfred just almost conceded an own goal. I would have nearly cried. Tyler Derich was good. He was not like a consistent number one, but when he did have to play, he was good. He was the first homegrown player to actually make a start, I believe, if I was reading that correctly. And then Memo Rodriguez is the other one that obviously you just talked all about, but Francisco Navas miss, Josue Soto miss, Alex Dixon miss, Brian Salazar did get some games. So not a total miss. Bradley Bourgeois miss, Christian Lucatero miss, and then these guys are still looking to get some chances. So I would go low D, probably underneath New England.
Yeah, I think so too.
Rock on. Oh God, now I have to figure out who this is.
FC the loss. FC the loss.
Oh, I know who that is. I had a typo. This is Eastern Conference playoffs.
I think it's
you got two choices.
Philly.
Wrong.
You typoed NYCFC wrong.
I put NTC.
Oh my God, you're the worst.
Away. Oh my God, we almost scored another own goal.
I guess who gets to start off for NYC?
I know it's me. I'm just trying to think of how I want to put this.
F tier, slate them all, hate them all.
No, I won't do that because a few of them are actually decent. Obviously, the biggest player to come out of NYC is Justin Hack. Where's my boy Matt? Matt would get that joke. I hope he listens to this. He'll enjoy that. 5 players come out of this team since they started in 2017. James Sands and Joe Scally obviously headlining both of those. Sands inexplicably not in the national team picture right now. Greggy really having a good one there. No, James Sands is in, he will be a stalwart at some point. Joe Scally, I would be shocked if we don't see him in January, if not earlier. It would make sense if we saw him before the January camp. If we see him like in the November qualifiers coming up, right? There are November qualifiers.
Yeah, I think
coming up.
Good too. 2 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, the 12th and the 16th after decision day. Okay.
End of next week.
Yes. So be ready to live stream those.
I'm ready.
Good.
I think we play Mexico, so we definitely got to get that one.
We do. We have to just to get a win.
Yeah.
Andres Yasin started off the season, then kind of fell off. Tavon Gray, too young to make a decision, but he is really not good. Justin Hack, my absolute boy. Anywhere middle C. Maybe go low B or high C because they've got 2 people in 4 or 5 years that have hit pretty well. There it is.
I'm thinking like here.
I would be okay with that. I wouldn't be too disappointed if we put them above Vancouver, but I'm okay with them there. Again, they've got 5 of them and they hit on 2 of them. And that's
Pretty good success rate.
pretty good success rate, especially because you've got 2 of them who are still probably going to be pretty decent.
Yeah.
So
Wait, you
Yeah.
said two of them hits? I believe I'm looking at 3 right there.
I am looking at 3, but 2 definites and 1 that some people might argue against. Those people would be
so
dumb.
We'll have to wait and see if Joe Scally pans out.
Yeah, for sure. Go on, go quickly.
FC the loss. FC the loss. Come on.
Next up, Eastern Conference playoffs.
Oh, come on. You suck. Philly.
And this is you.
All right. FC the loss junior. So obviously Philly is, we would probably say is one of the big 3 when it comes to homegrown academies. So pretty decent sized list of names here. A lot of them coming more so recently.
That shocked me. I'll be honest with you. Right? They just
Yeah.
started turning people over in like 2018.
Yeah, well, it looks like they really only started signing them in 2018. I mean, they had.
But no, that's what I mean. They turned them
Yeah.
over from academy to homegrown, right?
Yeah. And it's panned out very well for them. I think they found a good system that works and are definitely capitalizing on that. But from 2009 to 2017 or 2017, they only signed 4 players for homegrowns. And the only name that jumped out to me is Derek Jones, who's obviously a very versatile player, can play all over the pitch, playing for Houston at the moment, but has played pretty consistently across a couple of teams so far. So I would say I would say it's a hit. It's not the strongest, but he's a guy that's stuck around in the league for a while and is getting game time. Then obviously we go from 2018 to 2021, where the bulk of their homegrown players have come from. Obviously, like the 2 big names, Mark Mckenzie and Brendan Aaronson. Those are the 2 that have already made their jumps over to Europe. Mark Mckenzie going to play for Genk in Belgium, and Brendan Aaronson is going in the Red Bull system to play for Red Bull Salzburg.
We're not going to talk about how bad Mark McKenzie's been at Genk, though, right?
He's been bad for the national team too. I think he's just
No
not
disagreement.
a good player.
No disagreement there.
Yeah, I mean, for the time being, though, he made the jump over to play for a top team in Belgium. I think that's obviously noteworthy of a good jump to Europe, at least from MLS. He was a good player here as well. Brendan Aaronson also making a good jump over to Europe and has been a pretty big staple in the national team picture, whereas Mark McKenzie's kind of been in and out a little bits of game time. Aaronson's been pretty much in, I want to say, almost every time. So, and then there's a long list of guys here that are very young and are getting game time in the Philly team right now, still playing for the club. A couple names to jump out to me: Paxton Aaronson, obviously, for younger brother Brendan. Matt Freese, I've been seeing him get some game time. Quinn Sullivan, Jack McGlynn, Jack DeVry, who also just made a move out to Europe. He is now at Venezia with Busio and Tanner Tessman. I would be surprised if he
Alfred has
gets.
scored. Alfred has scored.
You interrupted me.
You're damn right
care if
I
Alfred
did.
scored.
Let's go.
You tell me when you're done.
Let's go. Come on. Okay, go ahead.
Overall, I'll just say this. Philly's system is obviously very good, more so in the latter stages. The last few years, they have really started to produce a lot of really good young talent. I would say it's definitely worthy of being in the A tier, but I would definitely stick it behind Red Bull.
I would absolutely. That's exactly where I was going to put them, right? Because they waited so long to get on board, they go behind Red Bull because Red Bull were first. But they have produced some massive talent over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of signs that they're going to continue to produce even more talent.
Correct.
But looking back at this, I'd almost see the argument if someone wanted to say that they would fall more so in the range of like DC and Seattle, honestly, because they've got Brendan Aaronson and Mark Mckenzie, but outside of that, there's a lot of what ifs at the moment. What do you think? You still would stick them in A tier?
No, I'd absolutely put them A bottom.
Okay.
Again, when we talk about it, the big three, they are part of the big three because of the impact that their players have had for the national team, right? Or for teams in Europe, right? Brendan Aaronson has been the best attacker for the men's national team last couple of games outside of the best U22 player in the league. So yeah, I'd definitely put them there. Sorry, Alfred almost scored another own goal. They're really good at that.
They stop scoring goals.
No playoff Eastern Conference.
Well, this Toronto.
No, Montreal.
Have fun with this one. This is a long list.
Which is absurd. Where did all these players come from?
It's a good question. Where are they is the
right?
question. Did they just make up the entirety of Montreal's team?
Bro, literally, and I haven't heard of. I'm pretty sure half of these people aren't real. I'm convinced.
They're trying to steal from the last book of Homegrown.
They are. They're trying so hard to be relevant. Carl Ouimet played one season for Red Bull, so he's automatically a legend. Wandril Lefevre sounds familiar to me, as does Maxime Tissot. But obviously, the big one, the first one they have is Maxime Crepeau, starting goalkeeper for the Canadian national team. Then it moves on, and Anthony Jackson Hamel's the next player to get some legitimate minutes, and was their starting striker for a little bit, but between the last couple of times. Then you've got Balou Tabla, who was on Barcelona's B team for a season and a half before coming back, which is pretty cool. James Pantemis is starting goalkeeper right now. Matthew Chenier is looking, and this is where they just blow up 2018 on. You've got all these guys who are like U20 Canadian nationals. And then Tomas Giraldo is playing pretty well too. This is a low C, maybe mid C, because of Crepeau, Tabla, and I'll say the potential for these guys to hit the Keeson Ferdinand, the Carifa Yao, the Kanumbi, the Bahia. Those guys are guys I've seen all around. It's they've got high potential. I'd probably put them between Columbus, Atlanta, maybe around there. Thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree with like the lower section of C. I'm trying to figure out exactly where I would put them. I don't think they've hit anywhere to the level of like Sam Vines, I would say. So I think I would stick them behind Colorado. No, I think I agree. I think I would put them here.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
The Alfred goalkeeper just tried to roll the ball out and threw it about 30 yards in the air.
Nice.
I'm gonna lose my mind, bro. I'm
Time
gonna cry.
wasting.
Something like that. 3 more teams here. Let's see if we can get this done before 9 o'clock.
The loss. FC the loss.
Western Conference.
Obviously not in the playoffs. FC the loss.
No playoffs. Are you guessing the loss?
Oh, it's probably San Jose.
It's San Jose.
Ah, you're the worst.
Hey, the randomizer's the worst. It's not me.
No, it's you.
Go right ahead.
Okay. San Jose. They've got a pretty short list, honestly. I think they've got 8 players. First signing not coming till 2015. A few, I would say majority of the list is coming from 2018 and later. Honestly, looking at the list, this is not a bad name of players coming from San Jose's homegrown. I would think you'd maybe dock them slightly just because they haven't really gone into the homegrown like pool much. There's a small list of players, but most of these guys are getting game time. I mean, Tommy Thompson's their first one. I don't think he's lived up to the hype that he once had, but certainly has gotten plenty of game time. Nick Lima.
National team too.
Was he? You look it up. I'll keep talking. Nick Lima obviously was part of the national team, plays for Austin now.
U20. Tommy Thompson, U20.
Lima played for the national team a little bit. Played pretty consistently for San Jose. Was a good fullback for them when comparing to the rest of the league. I think, yeah, he would definitely be a hit for them. JT Marcinkowski, starting goalkeeper for them, definitely a hit as well. Getting good game time. I believe was even called into a U.S. camp at some point. And then obviously big one, Cade Cowell. So when I was researching him, I saw he was actually getting links with Barcelona. Obviously, we all know that he's crazy talented. He's only like 17 or 18. You saw the goal that he scored in the last game was filthy.
Unbelievable.
Filthy. Yeah, he's got potential to be one of the top players to come from this league ever. So I think he definitely bumps them up big time. Overall, I think San Jose have done like a very good job. They've had a very good hit rate, in my opinion. I'm not. I know the rest of the guys on this list here are all still tagged to San Jose. I'm sure some of them are getting minutes as well. I'm sure you can go into that a little bit more.
Yeah, they're not really getting minutes, but
no, okay. They're still on a team at least. Can't say the same for a bunch of the other homegrowns. I would say San Jose has definitely done a pretty successful job with their homegrowns. Where I rank them, probably it's tough because in terms of numbers, they probably haven't met as many as like RSL, but their success rate has been pretty good. I'm thinking high C tier somewhere, but I'd be open to hearing if you wanted to make the argument for low B.
I'm going the other way. I'm going between Colorado and either between Colorado and LA or Colorado and Atlanta. Yeah, they've got good names here who play good minutes, but you haven't seen them in the national team, and you've seen one person get interest from overseas. Right. Colorado has Sam Vines plus, a few. Who was the other one from Colorado that Dylan Cerna, right? And we talked about Dylan Cerna being good before. Atlanta have George Bello, and that's about it. So I rank them there where they've got good names making, they haven't missed. I mean, Jacob Akanrije is probably the one who is the most questionable. But it's not like they've hit. I mean, you could convince me to put them maybe between Colorado and LA. But because nobody's made that move overseas yet, I'd put them between Colorado and Atlanta.
I think they're definitely got to be ahead of Colorado. I mean, for a fact Cade Cowell is getting the move to Europe.
Do you though? You
Yeah,
think Barcelona's coming knocking in the current financial state they're in?
it does. If it's not Barcelona, it's someone else. I guarantee, and he's definitely got way more hype than Sam Vines had. And Lima was in the national team picture.
Yes, he was.
So
Yeah.
I
Whether he
think
should have been or not.
I think they're definitely ahead of Colorado. I don't know if they'd be ahead of Galaxy. I would stick them here.
I'm okay with that. I'm cool with
All
that. Okay. This team is not in the playoffs,
FC Plus. FC Plus.
and they are in the Eastern Conference.
Say the
Another
best for last.
massively long list, like way too long for a team.
I hate when they do that. I don't
Like, I
care
don't
to
even care
look
that-
through all these.
I don't even care that it's long, but like, why? Like, there's no need for it. Neil Henry, absolute hit. Boston, Vancouver, and now is playing for Korea, a Korean team. Ashton Morgan was a good a good MLS player. Miss on Cordone, miss on Stinson, miss on Makuya. These are all players that they signed when they were awful. Jordan Hamilton was probably the best player in that group. Jay Chapman also pretty good. And then 2018 is where things start to turn over. Ayo Akinola, Liam Frazier, Julian Dunn, Jacob Schaffelberg, Marshall Ruddy, Jaden Nelson, Ralph Prizzo. All these guys are players who are signed this year and getting time. I give this one. So what I should do is put them in D because bell curve. But what I'm going to do is put them low C because
we'll change things around to make the bell curve. So don't worry about
we
that.
have to. We have to. I think you probably drop Columbus and put Toronto up. But zero really, I mean, they hit, but they didn't. Daniil Henry didn't hit until he was in Vancouver.
Gone.
Yeah. So their first real good player didn't come till 2018 in Ayo Akinola, and even he didn't hit before. Before like 2020. He didn't blow up till like 2020, right? So yeah, I'd put them either high D or low C.
I'd probably stick them ahead of Atlanta, maybe here.
Really?
I feel like Akinola has the potential to be on par with Bello.
Sure, but he's not there yet.
But everybody else Atlanta had it in a homegrown they missed on.
Yeah, but
at least there's a lot
what criteria are you going off of?
There's a lot of promise with the guys that Toronto have brought in lately.
Is promise in our criteria list?
Well, okay, so I think Marshall Ruddy
is very
he's
good.
getting Europe interest,
Yes,
which immediately is more than any of the other new Atlanta guys are getting. I'm pretty sure that Jaden Nelson was getting time. Liam Frazier is getting game time.
Yep.
Schaffelberg. That's more than you can say for the Atlanta guys.
Yep. Okay. All right. I'm okay with that. I think we need to drop Columbus, but
yes,
just
for the bell curve.
For the bell curve, because we know where we're putting. Because we know where we're putting FC Dallas coming up next.
The perfect bell curve.
Well, that's what I mean. But I mean, we're gonna have to move Minnesota to A because FC Dallas are going bottom of the table.
No, stop it.
FC Dallas above Red Bull.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's much to debate about this. When you can get players in your youth system to move over before even paying for you, yeah, you've got a pretty good system. Now, I can put up this, devil's advocate saying that Weston McKennie, Chris Richards, technically, those guys shouldn't count because they basically jumped without becoming homegrown players.
I don't even think Weston's on our list.
He's not, but I'm just saying, like, we talk about that a lot where it's like, oh, they move without even playing. Well, this is a homegrown list, not an academy list. But regardless,
Look how long their list is. I'll just say this though. Delas missed big time for a long time.
Oh yeah, they didn't start turning people over until just about 2016.
Yeah, their only hit before that point was Kellen Acosta.
Victor Ayo would like a word.
Oh yeah, you're right. Fair.
So Victor Ulloa, Richard Sanchez played for Chicago for like 4 minutes and was probably the worst goalkeeper in the league for that time. Kellen Acosta, obviously best left back in the men's national team pool. London Woodbury played a decent amount of minutes in MLS for New England as well. Jesse Gonzalez, yeah, we know. Alex Sendejas is now playing in the Quechua, which is pretty neat. Good. Paxton Pomykal, then this is where it all starts turning over. Paxton Pomykal, Jesus Ferrer, Brian Reynolds, Reggie Cannon, Brandon Cervania, Jordan Cano retired already. Gosh. Chris Richards, Thomas Roberts, Edwin Cerrillo, Dante Sealy, Tanner Tessman, Justin Shea, and then this guy, Ricardo Pepe. Not sure if you've heard of him. He's the best U22 player in the league.
I haven't heard of him because the best 22 player is Daryl Duque. So I haven't heard of this other guy.
There's no debating this, right? We're not going to sit here and try and argue, right? If you want to make an argument for Red Bull, go right ahead. I'm not stopping you, but
no, I mean, I have 7 players at least that I noted of Europe moves for Dallas. I mean, that alone is putting them top spot for me.
Yep.
Look at that beautiful bell curve we got. That was perfection.
So
and we had to move one team to do it.
One team. How good are we?
Amazing.
All right. That is our bell curve tier list. If anybody disagrees,
you're wrong.
Me. You're wrong. The only thing we could probably actually no, that bell curve is perfect. Even if we move the team up and down, it wouldn't be the proper percentages, right?
Yep.
Oh, we're so good at what we do. Yeah, we'd like. I mean, I'd say leave your comments, but I don't want to hear them because you're wrong. So, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time. Unless you have anything else to add.
Oh,
great. Well, we got a few more cool episodes coming up. Actually, I don't have anything off the top of my head, so I know there are cool episodes coming up. We'll get to them eventually.
Like most hated player.
Most hated player.
I mean, the season's ending soon, so I'm sure there's a bunch we can do.
We'll do a whole bunch of live streams, playoff stuff. Live stream on Wednesday when this episode goes live.
We'll have to do like our end of season award.
End of season awards. The big MLS quiz of 2021.
Oh yeah. That's a fun one.
That's so much fun.
We gotta get Adam back for that one.
We do, and we might have a guest appearance for
guest appearance.
But yeah, so we will see you guys next time on the next episode or live stream from the Designated Players Podcast. See ya.